years following the 1998 agreement. Can you say a few words about the distinctive contribution photography made during these years?
Well, I suppose it's done a number of things from a media perspective. There was a lack of, and maybe a void, actually, of the documentation of what was happening afterwards. You know, there was a quietness to maybe erase it. There was community archives and public archives that maybe continued it on, and the arts certainly were part of that conversation, as was Belfast Exposed. But I think what it does is it gives an opportunity. There's a real truth about photography, but there's an easiness about it, and it's something that's very, very accessible. So part of the process in the post-Good Friday Agreement, I think it needs to look at the conversations that we can have, and we should be having, and the people that includes, which is not only the nationalists and the Republican community. I think it has to include the RUC and the veterans that actually were associated with it as well. And I think what it does, a photograph tells a story in its own entirety, or an interpretation of a story, by actually allowing people to have those conversations and the interpretations, either individually or sometimes together. It can open up those stories that need to be talked about and need to be told. I think Northern Ireland has had a wealth of photographers that have dealt with conflict and resolution, the like of Paul Seawright, Donovan Wiley, just to name two of them, Sean Hillen as well. In particular, Paul, I think, is a great lesson to be learned from the way his approach to actually telling a story within his work. It wasn't obvious, it wasn't representational, it was really thought-provoking. It took you to a certain place in a certain kind of way, and it was a remembrance of something, but actually it was your own personal narrative that you put to it that made it special. And whilst most people were reflecting on the social justice aspects of it and the nationalists, Paul was also looking at the unionist community, which was often quite left out, and I thought that was an important aspect, something that he knew about, and he went on his own childhood as well. You know, he lived in a Protestant community, so he was able to reflect on that. But it was the way he approached it and made you feel. His photographs may be quite ferocious at times and very calm in others, but it's how he draws you in. And even currently, the work that he's doing, Beasts of Burden is his latest project, not dealing with Northern Ireland, but dealing with another conflict in Rwanda and the genocide in 1994, and about how they as a community are using, he calls it Beasts of Burden, but the government initiative allows a cow to help use that as to drive an economy, but also within the community as a bond. So the victim and the perpetrator have to work together actually to look forward to their sustainable future. And it's just a clever approach that he's used in that. And maybe something we look forward to, young photographers looking for Northern Ireland's conceptual cow, perhaps, about how we can move on.